Juror duty in a natural sovereign law court. If you are interested in juror duty, you can apply at your regional administration. They send your application to the Sovereign Committee. It is posted and then put on the voting list. If the Sovereigns approve you as a juror, you're put on the hired registry for 3 years. The adjudicator picks at random 12 jurors for each grand jury trial. In a natural sovereign law grand jury trial, the jurors determine whether there is probable cause to prosecute the defendant to determine the verdict of guilty or innocent. If there are damages, the jurors determine the amount of the damages. Thus, the role of a juror is important to natural sovereign law. Jurors decide the facts based on evidence presented to the jury. Jurors must remain impartial and independent. They may not discuss the case except with other members of the jury. They keep all statements made in the jury room confidential. If asked to be on a grand jury, you must arrive at the court on time. If delayed, contact the adjudicator. Remember to bring your hired notification with you. Once the grand jury starts, you must get permission from the adjudicator to leave the jury area or the court building, and the court bailiff must accompany you. Most jury service is within 10 working days, but some trials can be longer. If a juror cannot commit to the time of a trial, then let the court adjudicator know. The adjudicator controls the proceedings at the front of the courtroom. In front of the jury sits the court reporter who records the whole trial. Facing the jury are the sovereigns that represent the accuser and the defense. They will present and argue the case to the jurors. An advisor can accompany and speak for the defendant. Witnesses can give evidence from the witness box or sometimes via video link. Finally, there's an area in the courtroom for a public gallery and the press. They will show the trial live to all the sovereigns when possible for full transparency to the nation. When the trial is ready to begin, the adjudicator will call in the jurors and have them seated to begin the trial. Each juror will say the affirmation of the Constitution before the trial begins. Once the jury is affirmed, the adjudicator reads out the charges made against the defendant and the trial starts. The accuser starts by presenting his evidence. The witnesses are called, sworn in, and questioned. They call this evidence in chief. When finished, the defense cross-examines each witness to find any weaknesses or contradictions in their evidence. Once all the accuser's witnesses have been questioned, cross-examined, and re-examined if necessary, it's the defense's turn to present evidence. The grand jury can also ask the witnesses questions by letting the adjudicator know. The bailiff will pass questions from the jury to the adjudicator. The defense calls their witnesses and then are cross-examined by the accuser and, if necessary, re-examined by the defense. The grand jury can also ask the witnesses questions at this point. Finally, the accuser and defense may give their closing speeches. The adjudicator will direct and specify what natural sovereign law requires and summarize the facts of the case. At any point, a juror can ask the adjudicator for further explanation of the case. The adjudicator will explain duties as a juror before they deliberate to discuss the evidence. Jurors will nominate a sovereign to chair discussions and act as a spokesperson. Once the jury has agreed unanimously, they return to the courtroom, and the adjudicator will ask the spokesperson to deliver the verdict, handing it to the bailiff to give to the adjudicator. The adjudicator will give the verdict to the injured party to read. If they find the defendant guilty, the adjudicator hands out the sentence immediately, and the court officers carry out the sentence. After this, the jury's role in the trial is over, but the jurors should wait for the adjudicator to tell them when to leave. The adjudicator administrators are responsible to pay the jurors for their service with a quality good or service. They will compensate all jurors for any loss of income and expenses such as traveling expenses, cost of dining, and any other expenses incurred while serving as a juror during the trial.